In this session, we are going to talk about how to process some of the big data generated from mass spectrometry based technology. Uh, I hope you remember that when we gave you some lab tour, that these mass spectrometers are currently the a really working horse for generating big data sets, where very high quality data could be generated in a very short time. So in today's this lecture, we are going to talk about how to take proteomics data and analyze that, also do secondary data analysis and try to make visual sense of that data. So we'll have some hands-on session for this activity. Just to refresh you about the basic workflow of mass spectrometry based proteomics, which we have given you some flavor in the past. What we are talking about, how to take the complex protein mixtures and try to identify which are all proteins present in a given tube. And then from all of those proteins, can we look at what the patterns of the proteins are, what the intensity of the protein is, and can we differentiate a healthy group versus disease group based on these proteins. So this is what we want to achieve in proteomics based workflows, and the process involves they take the proteins by doing protein extraction. After that, protein digestion with enzymes like trypsin to cleave those into peptide forms. Separate them using liquid chromatography. We have showed you nano-LC and UHPLCs. Then you want to ionize these peptides to the gaseous ionized forms using electrospray ionization or matrix assisted laser desorption ionization, ESI or MALDI. And then once these ions are now formed, you want them to move in the mass spectrometer with the mass analyzers to analyze these mass to charge ratios and the different configurations of these mass analyzers. We talked to you about quadruples, time of flight, Orbitraps, ion trap, different type of mass analyzers can be used. Or one could also use hybrid configuration like QTOF when you have quadrupole with time of flight, or TOF time of flight with time of flight. Or you can also have a tribrid technology which I showed you in our lab, which is Orbitrap fusion, where we have quadruples, ion trap, and Orbitrap. All these hybrid and tribrid technologies, they are taking some intense precursors doing fragmentation, which generate this MS spectrum, which could be utilized for deriving the peptide sequences. I hope this brings you back in the what we have spoken in the previous sessions and showed you in the data analysis, not data analysis, but the lab sessions to give you the visual sense of the instruments and the workflow. So very briefly, I will show you one of the simple software which can be used for mass spectrometry data analysis, which is Mascot, which can be accessed using matrixscience.com. This is just very basic analysis which I'm talking to you because if you are taking, let's say, from the SDS page gel, few proteins of interest, which is the bands, and you want to analyze those, that will be a smaller data set. If you are taking the complex protein mixture, which is having 5,000, 10,000 protein, you need to do data analysis much differently. So the same open access software Mascot can be used for different type of analysis, but it will require some more commercial upgradation if you want to handle the big data sets. However, there are other open access software and commercial softwares as well. In our lab, we use Proteome Discoverer, one of the software which is able to handle this kind of data set. There are open access software like MaxQuant and Transproteome Pipeline, which is TPP. These softwares are also heavily used for analyzing these data. So what we are talking about, how to, whatever sample we have run in the mass spectrometers, the output of that data, how to process that data using some software. So this PMF stands for peptide mass fingerprints. MSMS, you remember the B and Y and which we generated with those collision, and that result into the peptide sequences. So I'm just showing you a couple of slides to give you idea for this software. Please feel free to use this Matrix Science Mascot. You go there, it's very user-friendly software where they have also given some different examples of peptide mass fingerprint, sequence query, MSMS ion search, which can be utilized for different type of data analysis. So essentially, first you want to go and look for that what are the parameters to be changed, and then you want to upload your data file so that it can process and tell you which are all proteins present in your given sample. That's your first curiosity to do that. So you will of course put your name and email IDs, and you will define which databases you want to use. Swissprot is one of the very commonly used database. Which enzyme you have used, like trypsin in this case. You want only few miscleavage to happen, like of course no enzyme will work 100% perfectly. You want to allow some miscleavage. You can use the fixed modifications. So in this case taxonomy, it is mammals. If you do not know what the taxonomy is, this sample comes from which organism, then you can put all taxonomy. Fixed modification, you can select from these carbamidomethyl, that is one of the commonly used fixed modification, and oxidation is one of the variable modification, but one could always use more variable modification like phosphorylation and other type of modification as well. You can just go with some other default settings like peptide tolerance, mass value. If you are using the again which type of mass spectrometer you are using, you can accordingly define these charge species. And then if you are looking at just the protein identification, then you can put none. If you are looking at protein quantification, then you have to define which type of quantification you are looking at from the iTrack or TMT or SciLec. And again, now if you are looking at electrospray ionization type of data from LC-MS that generates multiple charge species. So you can define the charge states there. This is the mascot generic format. Instrument, you have to show that which instrument you want to use. So for example, this case you are using ESI quadruple time of flight instrument, which I was briefly referring in the past. So again, some of these now can be used for your input file, which you want to input parameters before you actually want to quickly do your search. So again, once you have gone through all the parameter, that what should be the my peptide tolerance, my protein tolerance, MSMS level of tolerance, all of these which you have defined. Again, you may have option for multiple type of enzymes which you can choose. So these are the parameters which you have to play with it. Initially, there are some guidelines which you can use, but of course, given your experimental condition, you will probably choose the most appropriate condition of the database, of the enzyme, of the possible other parameter changes. And once you have done these parameter change, then you can click on the start search with the with your input data file. That will give what the proteins are present in that given sample of that data file. And this is what eventually we want to know as a biologist or the clinicians who want to work in this area, to know that which of the proteins I can see from my given sample. So in this case, this turned out to be one of the 60 kilodalton heat shock protein, and that is seen here in this particular output, where anything in this case anything passing greater than 38 score is showing a significant hit. So these are the protein which I have, the software is telling that these are most relevant proteins or significant proteins present based on the database search. So likewise, think about when we talk about whole proteome data analysis, we are going to see maybe 2000 protein or 5000 protein from the human tissue sample or human blood sample or other type of biofluids or other kind of biological samples, not only limited to human but also bacteria or yeast or plant, any of these sample. So what I just showed you was a very simple example of few proteins. What we actually work on, which requires a lot of time and high processing speed, that will be at the thousands of scale. So nevertheless, the kind of parameters input files, those things will remain the same. You have to play with based on the softwares. There are certain different parameters which has to be feed into the softwares. Then accordingly you can do the search. These are quite user-friendly software, so there is not much need to worry for the parameters. But finally, once you have got the data, how to make sense of that data? Now let's think about a simple situation of the COVID project, which we were talking even earlier as well, that now we have these 50 patients which are mild fever of COVID, 50 patients which are having the severe type response of COVID. Now how to compare, is there anything different in the patient which are having mild fever or the patient which are having the severe fever? So to do this kind of comparison, now let's say you have run every patient sample and all their protein you have analyzed using proteomics. So you got now 100 data points for 50 non-severe or mild and 50 severe patients. And you got maybe 2000 protein from every individual. So now you are going to do a big data analysis from 2000 protein accession IDs versus 100 patient, and every patient you're going to look for all these 2000 protein, and then you're going to do some image pattern analysis to find out is there any pattern emerging from the group A, which is mild, versus group B, which is severe. And this is what being done using different softwares again. And one of the popular software which we also use quite heavily now is MetaboAnalyst. But also there are softwares like Prodigy, and one could use even your own R programming based packages you can use, and different ways to visualize the data and present the data and make sense of the data. Is there any statistical difference in my these two groups? Are there, what is the fold chain of the proteins from group A versus group B? What kind of, I can see the most influential protein which can distinguish these two groups. Again, recall many things which we talked with Professor Sanjeev Sabnis, talking about the statistical parameter, and then Professor Graham Ball, who talked to you about trying to make the most influential classifiers and use machine learning tools. Many of these are going to take forward from this analysis to that kind of workflow loops. So what we thought, we are going to now give you a hands-on session on the secondary data analysis, and Mr. Arghya Banerjee, a senior PhD student in the lab, who is quite expert of using this software, is going to take over now and going to give you this hands-on session demonstration. And we have also given you the data files in the group. Please take those, and I'm sure you will, if you play with it, you will really like it, that you will feel it is very easy to do this kind of work. Even if you do not understand about the entire biological process of how to generate this data, but at least can you now start looking at some sort of pattern analysis from that data. So I really request all of you to come to your systems now and take those data file which we have already provided to you. And we are now going to have this demonstration and hands-on session. All right, so Arghya, now maybe you can share your video and you can take over the session.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
You are audible. And
Okay, so let's come to this interactive session. I will be basically dealing with the statistics for the biologist. Like if you are dealing in a biological experiment, like what kind of statistics can be applied. And this is not only limited to biology only, you can apply it to any field, any data, whatever you want to do. If you have that data, you can churn the statistics in that. So just to give a brief view, here we will be familiarized with the steps undertaken for the data analysis. We will also understand the terminology such as data integrity checking, normalization, scaling, transformation, unsupervised clustering, outlier detection, quality control. These are commonly available and freely software, as Professor Sanjeeva mentioned, that MetaboAnalyst, Prodigy, Perseus, these are the commonly available data analysis software which are available online. One need not have to know all the coding or all the scripts to analyze their data. Means this kind of softwares are already available in the user-based platform for the friendly use. Now let us come to an example, like let us come to a situation how we can define a biological experiment. So we generally know there are the clinical samples, which is if we want to analyze the biology of a person, we can go with the clinical samples such as plasma, tissue, CSF, cerebrospinal fluid, urine, etc. We can either do a gene expression study on that, and we can do protein expression study on that. Many other studies are located, but this considers the vast variety of it. So basically, if we are taking the serum or the plasma, these clinical samples from the same patient, P1, okay. So this is my plasma sample 1, plasma sample 2, plasma sample 3, and plasma sample 4 from the patient P1. So in this kind of scenario, if the clinical samples are taken from the same patient, it is called as the technical replicates. So one should understand, if I tell in an experimental designing that I am using a technical replicates, means it is coming from the same patient samples. Second, it is highly accurate means if I am repeating, if I am having the same patient serum samples from the same patients and read many times from different time points, so it will give me a highly accurate measurement. It is highly specific, and generally it is used to describe the individual or method to know its reproducibility. Means how much reproducible if your method is when you are analyzing the sample for the second time, whether you are getting the same data or not. If the biological samples are taken from the different individuals, like I have patient 1, patient 2, patient 3, I have collected the biological samples, but they fall into the domain of human beings, like the diseased individual. So this kind of condition where the samples come from different individuals, but from the same domain, like for humans or for mouse or for some other organism, they are called as biological replicates. So you should be familiar with the term of biological replicates and technical replicates. The biological replicates comes from the sample coming from the different individual. Generally, it is used to measure the cohorts like the cohort 1, group 2, cohort 2. It is used to describe an individual, a group of individual, and also increases the statistical power. So suppose if you are comparing one cancer patient with a non-cancer patient, it depends upon how many individuals were involved in your cancer study and how many normal individuals you have taken. So greater the number, greater the statistical power, you can easily do the power number calculation with the online available software. Now after, let us, after you have done this gene expression study or protein expression study, as Professor Sanjeeva has explained, that you will generate the data. So what to do that, like how you would start churning your data, how you will do a layer wise analysis starting from the scratch of your data. So I have classified this data into three kinds of analysis. First is the primary data analysis, where the analysis of the data is made by the hardware. The hardware generates the result. It may be a mass spectrometer, it may be a XRD, it may be a NMR data. Any kind of data can be there which is generated, means any kind of domain where the frequency domain can be converted into a feature domain with the help of Fourier transformation. You get a matrix, and generally what are the factors involved governing the primary data. Here instrument parameters, the parameter optimization, how the datas are collected, on which date the datas are collected, whether you have used any internal standard or not. That kind of parameters affect your primary data collection. Moving to the secondary data collection, data analysis. Once you scoop your data, once the data you scoop it out through the instrument, like once you have procured, you go for the secondary data analysis. Secondary data analysis mainly involve the statistical modeling or stochastical modeling. The statistical modeling, you try to filter your data, you try to align your data. Assembling and filtering makes your data more pure, more of sensible, make it more unique. Like if you want to make the sense out of data, that what I want to show you, the statistical data analysis helps you to deliver that. And lastly, the tertiary data analysis. Once you get the secondary data, how to interpret that, how to associate that analysis with your whatever aim you want to see, whatever study result you want to get. So this comes here comes the definition of the tertiary data analysis. So if I am getting some significant proteins in microarray, significant features in microarray after t-test or filtering of the non-passable criteria, that proteins are related to which pathway comes into the tertiary data analysis. So you can do a tertiary data analysis with the help of Reactome and the commonly based softwares which are available online. You can just explore this domain. So this is called the tertiary data analysis. So now I have generated, I have seen my microarray chips will contain the data, or my protein samples or the clinical samples elaborated from the mass spectrometry will contain the data which is coming from the hardware. I will do the secondary data analysis, which I will show you in the hands-on session now. That mainly involves the statistical modeling, filtering and alignment. And lastly, the tertiary data analysis, that is also becomes one of the topic, that how to know the study, how to interpret the result of the data. So there are two basically common things one need to know while doing the statistical analysis of the data. One is the normalization and one is the scaling. First of all, Why we do normalization? Means what does the name, what does the term normalization signifies? In statistical terminology, normalization refers to Gaussian distribution, means changing the any skewed distribution into Gaussian distribution. So normalization is terms of statistics in which the skewed distribution is changed into normal or Gaussian distribution. Why it is required? The transformation of the data to make it more comparable and minimizing the noise without affecting the signal. So what do we normalize in the data? Sampling handling deviation. Suppose you are doing an experiment, you take 10 microliter of an critical enzyme or chemical and you add. Suppose that 10 microliter is not always 10 microliter, you can pipette out 8 microliter of it or 6 microliter of it. Each, it induces an pipetting error. That kind of sampling handling diffusion. Suppose it requires a temperature for incubation. Your sample requires a particular temperature for experimental condition. If you don't maintain that temperature, it induces a deviation. Similarly, the pH of the buffers you use, that can also have the capability of inducing a pH. So these all can be brought into the singular platform with the help of sample handling deviation by normalization. Second is the batch effect. Suppose you are doing an experiment in the month of December, and by 2021 you will be doing it on the month of February or March. So whether you will get a same result, theoretically yes, but practically it might differ. So these kind of effects can be called as batch effect. Whether you are reproducing that experiment in whether you are doing that experiment in 6 months or yearly or for 5 years, how much change can it be introduced, like what changes can be induced, whether that are comparable. So you can do a normalization on the batch effect also. So generally mathematically normalization can be explained as you have a feature x, the whatever the raw value of x you are getting, you will be minusing the minimum value of that feature. Suppose I am having a feature x which may be a protein, and throughout the studies I have 10 individuals and I am getting a maximum and a minimum value of that x protein. So this is the equation which can generally you can do it manually, that x normalized by the x minimum by x maximum by x minimum. So this is the mathematical statistical formula for the normalization in a very simpler terms. Now moving to the types of normalization or scaling. Normalization can be divided as the centering. So in centering, as you can see, this is the figure. I have an suppose I have three features or three proteins. Uh, one is giving a Gaussian distribution like this. One is in green, one is in blue, one is in red. So if I want to bring it at a same place, what I can do, I can deduct the mean of that, or I can deduct a median of that, so that it becomes a center. Okay, so this is called centering. So generally mean extreme values contribute to the, if we are doing using the mean for centering, so the extreme outliers or the extreme values can deviate our like result. But if we are doing a median, accounts for the central part of the distribution, how much to move. Say second is scaling. Suppose if you see this green part, this green Gaussian peak, it is very much distributed. Okay, as compared to the red, which spreading is less. The spreading of this feature is less as compared to the blue. So if you want to rank me, the green has more of the spreading, followed by blue, followed by the red. But I want to make it in a single line. I want to compare, for the comparison, I make it into the single line or single reference. Okay, so what I can do, I can do a scaling with the help of standard deviation, or I can take a median absolute deviation and do a scaling. What is standardization? When you are performing centering as well as scaling, that is called as a standardization. Okay, so whatever you are seeing in this in this figure, it is called standardization. It is having both centering and scaling. That means what? It's spread, its widespread of the features is also normalized. All are brought in a single scale or a single class. And second, you can also see the height or the origin. If I'm taking 0 as my origin, all these features colored as the green, blue and red are arranged in a single point. So you can do. You can see there are different kinds of other normalization also. So you can explore more about that. That is quantile normalization, which we generally use for microarray experiment. Then is the two component normalization. Today we are going to discuss in detail about the MetaboAnalyst software, and we will be this MetaboAnalyst software has various features which can be explored. But today we will be only involved. We will be only focusing on the statistical analysis statistical analysis feature. So there are enrichment analysis, pathway analysis, joint pathway analysis. There are many more features, but we will be focusing on the statistical analysis. So generally, now I will show in few minutes like how to upload your data. So this is the interface which you will get how to upload your data. So we will be generally, if you are using an XRD, then you can select the concentration. If you are using an NMR, you can select spectral beams. If you are using the mass spectrometry, you can use peak intensity. These are the default programs. It doesn't affect much, but you have to be familiar whether you are going to normalize the columns or rows. So basically, whatever data file I have given you, you will choose that and you will go for column unpaired because my features are located in the columns. So after when you click submit here, you
I'll
will be
just
coming.
pause you for a minute. So I think this is where all the participants can actually now go to this MetaboAnalyst software interface and then choose the file which we have sent today, and then start following some of the steps. Argue, is that the correct way of going forward, or you are going to have more?
I am going to have more, but only 3 slides are left, which will
Oh, fine.
be giving like what are the contents of meta analysis.
After that, the actual on
Yes,
the
yes, yes, full on hands-on session.
fine.
So I have talked about the normalization parameters. I have talked about the normalization parameters. These are the interface-based normalization which we are going to see shortly. Sample normalization is one of the features and feature normalization is one of the features. So we have in the sample normalization, whatever normalization I have talked, you can normalize it with the median, you can normalize with the sum, you can use a reference pool as an internal normalization. And lastly, we will come into the univariate analysis. So in the univariate analysis, we will see the fold change analysis, the t-test, volcano plots. These are the common statistical terms you should be means we should be knowing about that. After that, kinds of clustering, the high dimensional feature selection, uh, clustering and dendrogram. Just to move on to the new slides, I am just giving you the brief test of this. What is unsupervised learning and supervised learning? Suppose I am having a two cohort of data, data A, data from group 1, data from group 2. If I want to train my model, if I want to train my model that what is the best features, you go and select, okay, and on the basis of that, you separate my data. So this is called unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning is always handy. It will give you the actual situation or the scenario of the study, which you can use for the differential expression. So this kind of clustering includes hierarchical. K means you will be coming through the uh, means you will be coming through these terminologies. Next is the principal component analysis and the negative. And second is the supervised learning. In this, what you are doing, you are training your model, means you are telling, okay, my model, you understand this, that this is my group 1, it is having this condition, and this is my group 2, it is having this condition. Now tell me whatever best I can get. So basically it overfits your data. Supervised, when you are doing a supervised modeling, you can just generate a test model. On the basis of that test model, you have to validate large number of blinded study. It can only overfit your data. It can only categorize your data. You can it can help you to build a test model. So KNN, K nearest neighbor, decision tree, random forest, these all are the ways of supervised learning. So this is one of the example of supervised, unsupervised, that is the PCA, principal component analysis, and partial least square DA or the supervised clustering. So now I hope we will enter into the hands-on session. So my screen is visible, correct? So my screen is visible, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So now I will type, you also do with me. I will type Metabo Analyst. So here I find the software. I will just click on this. So once you are here, please let me know. So I hope you all are there. Now after reaching here, click here to start. You will get this interface. So you can see, you will get the statistical analysis, you will get the enrichment analysis, the pathway analysis, and all kind of features which are available here, but we will be interested only in the statistical analysis. So we will click on the statistical analysis. So this is the interface which I was telling you. You have to know how to load your data. So these are the interface which you will be having. So basically we will be uploading our data, we will be processing our data, doing a normalization, we will perform a statistics on this. So everybody has reached to this step. So I think Amit, Asif, Krishna, Praveen, Sarvanan, you all are in this place.
All right, Argyo, you can continue showing. If anybody has any problem, then they will ask you.
Okay,
So,
okay. So very well. So I have given two types of data. One is the test data 1, test data 2. My test data will be containing three kinds of cohort. So I will start first with the test data. What I was given you earlier. So I have selected I have selected columns unpaired. I have chosen the test data. Now I will just click submit. So once you have submitted your data, means once this data has been submitted into the interface, into the Metabolo Analyst interface, it will should be showing these features. Like it only recognizes the text and not sorry, numeric numbers. So it generally says that the non-numeric values are found. Next is the 57 features containing the single value. So you can also ignore it. Like if you are having missing values or the empty cells in your data, then it will be showing this kind of uh, commands. But if your data is fully, the pre, cross and matrix is fully filled, then you can proceed. So I will just click on the proceed. So now if I could show the Excel. So this is my Excel which I have given you. So it is visible in the screen, correct? I have three grades of individual. Okay, one is the grade 2, one is grade 1, and one is grade 3. So whatever in mass spectrometry we see, mass spectrometry plus NMR, whatever we see, there can be missing values in the cohort. Okay, there can be a missing values because this protein is not identified in this individual. The missing values can depend upon the type of fragmentation it is doing, or it is not identified in the these individuals. So basically, if whole of the missing values, like if you see this kind of missing values, which is uh, empty in 70% of the individual, which is absent in 70% of the individual, you have to discard it. So if I go to my data filtering criteria, so filtering the data based on if I am having, I can do a, sorry, if I have to go before step. So this I am doing it again. So click here to start. I will do a statistical analysis where I will load my data, columns unpaired. Choose. I will select the test data. I will do a submission of this. So this takes only 10 to 15 seconds. Once I have come, so here comes the missing value imputation. I will click on the missing value imputation. If you at all see, if you have to understand like if your data needs a missing value imputation or not, because if you are doing an missing values, you are inducing a skewness, is a skewness in the system. But if you are inducing a missing value, then whatever model which is having 70% of the data or the feature having 70% of the data can be taken in the under consideration. So what I can do, remove the features which is having less than 30% missing values. So this can be on the basis of that. So if my feature is having 70%, then only it will be there. But if it is having 30% of the missing values, it will be removed. And you can do estimate the missing values by KNN features. So the KNN is like what to say, like I have K nearest mean neighbor, that this is one kind of clustering algorithm which will help you to find the nearest value by putting a median line in it. So now I have done a missing value imputation. Then I will enter into the phase of data filtering. Now data filtering generally tells like if you have a bad data, so suppose bad data in the sense of very small values or row irreproducible data, you can remove it. So what are the features that are explained? You can remove the data if I am taking a replicates in a model. If I see a standard deviation less than 20%, I can filter it out. If I am selecting a median absolute deviation, you can select it out. But for now, in this case, I will do a none. But these all options are there to glorify your data, to more justify your data. If you want to take high stringency criteria, you can select any of this data. I will click a submit. So you can see here the command will come, a non-QC based data filtering is been applied. Then I will go to proceed. Yeah, so now these are the normalization what I have talked about. Like you will get a normalization where you will have a sample normalization, you will have a data transformation or a data scaling. So generally, I told you like median normalization is one of the best case, but if you are having any internal standard in it, like in the NMR experiment, you can use that. If you have used a pool, you can normalize that kind of pooling. So I told you why normalization is important. Handling deviation, batch effect, instrument errors, they all can be normalized like brought at a same scale with the help of normalization. I will generally go with normalization, but in your case you are free to select any of these normalization which better suits your sample. Now if I come to the data transformation, I have the mass spectrometry values in the units of 10 to the power 6, 10 to the power 7. So those things are like huge numbers. How I am going to read it? I will generally do a log transformation. What my log transformation will do? My log transformation will scale my data to a 2-digit number, 2-digit or the 3-digit number rather than the 10 to power minus 6 or 10 to power 7, 10 to power 8. So this is the one of the benefit of the data transformation. So data analyzation becomes very easy. Now you can go for the auto scaling, like the data scaling. Data scaling will bring into the single like what to say, single origin. So I will do your auto scaling. Depending upon your data, you can select mean centering and Pareto scaling also, the range of scaling also. Now what you click is normalize. So here you can see, you can click over to view the result button to view this. So I will click on here view result. So see, this is my not normalized data. These are my features. These are the protein features which have been recognized with the mass spectrometry. This is before normalization and this is after normalization. You can see more of the features are on the center. If I go to the sample wise, so you can see my grade 3, grade 2, grade 1, they are all scattered. Okay, they are all scattered, but now they are brought near the center. See 0. This box plot is the indicative of that whether irrespective of my samples coming from grade 3, grade 2, grade 1, all are normalized. All medians are at a median normalization. All medians are located as a single origin. So now this data is good and we can proceed. So after this normalization, sorry, I have again gone to the normalization by median, log transformation and auto scaling. So I do the normalization. So once the normalization has been done, I have seen the result. And one more thing, like you can also click here, you can download this image at a high resolution, full page or half page or default, whenever you want. So once this is done, once the normalization is done, I will click on the proceed. So this is the univariate analysis. This is the univariate analysis which I was telling you, which I was showing you. So you need, in the univariate analysis, you will go through the fold change analysis, t-test, volcanoplot, the ANOVA. You can do a chemometric analysis with the PCA, partial least square. So I will go one by one. Why I can't do fold change or a t-test? Because I am involving three cohorts, three group individual. The data set 2 has only two cohorts. I will also show that in very quick manner. So if you go on to the one way ANOVA, I will click on the one way ANOVA. See, you can see it. So you can see it is doing Fisher LSD or Turkish HSD, whatever the algorithm you want, and you can see it here. Okay, this many red, the things which are in red are my features, like are my significant features. If you click on any of these spots, by the side you will get, like, see this protein in my group 1, group 2, group 3. So this is the beauty of the software. At the same time, you can see any of these features. So suppose you can make it out in what to say, in differential manner, but you can also go and see in details. If you click on the Excel sheet, you will get all the features here and there. You can download this also. You can click and download this also. If you don't want to download, you can click on this protein. So suppose it is the ANOVA is done on the basis of F value, P value, and the log 10 minus log 10 values. So see, these are the features which are there. So if I click on view, I will get the features. So this is my original concentration. This is my non-normalized. Similarly, you can download this in the high resolution form, whichever significant you will. Suppose what I want is the log fold change. I want to see a log fold change. My highest log fold change, sorry, highest log p value is 12.616. I want to see what how that feature looks. So this is my features. I can see my this protein or this feature is highly expressed in the grade 2 as compared to grade 1 and grade 3. Grade 3 it's none. If I go to the fold change, if I go to the FDR, the false discovery rate, the lowest default discovery rate, good is the thing. So you can see this feature is also down regulated, like it is down regulated in group 3 as compared to the group 2 and group 1. So like that, you will get a list of proteins. You can get all the list of the proteins like which are significant, and according to that you can select your model which is having a log p value of greater than 1.3 minus log p value of greater than 1.3 means less than 0.05, less than 0.05. That is the p value when it becomes significant. So once the ANOVA is done, you can move on to the correlation. At the sidebar you can see the correlation. Actually software is taking time. Okay, so there are two kinds of correlation. Okay, one is the Pearson's correlation, Spearman rank correlation, and Kendall's correlation. So you can analyze both. You can analyze feature also. You can analyze your individual samples also, like in individual cohort how many samples you have used. You can see that also. So let's proceed with the features. So as I have done log transformation initially, during the transformation step I will go with the Pearson because the Pearson follows the linearity. Okay, I will go for the Pearson. Now color I can change it from here. It can be heat color, topo, grayscale, or red or green. Let's proceed with the heat color. I will do a submission. Now you can see the beauty of this. These are my three groups. You can see grade 3, grade 2, grade 1, and these are the things. You can see everything like which are above 0.6. The individuals which are above 0.6 will be only considered, like for a biological experiment. If it is having more than 0.6, 0.5, then only it is significant. Otherwise, you have to discard that individual, or that individual is not good. Okay, so that is why you are seeing, or else it may be negatively correlated. This group of cohort, like the group 3 is totally different from behaving totally different as group 2 or group 1. So then you have to, what you have to do, you have to do an individual cohort correlation. You have to go for the individual cohort correlation, like how does my group 3 behaves individually. So this can be two of the ways. And if you want to understand the features like the proteins, you can do a summation of this. Just a minute, it will be coming in a time. Yeah, so this you can see very dense, like whatever the features or 3000 or the 4000 features are there, you can see uh, my features on that. But in a detailed view, you can, like, you can download the correlation table also, and you can see individually in the Excel sheet. And you can also download the p-value table also, the correlation r value and the p-value. So now you can see anything which is beyond 0 is good, like in the, sorry, 0.5 means yellow region. This yellow region is good, and anything which is in red is negatively correlated. Either it is specific to that particular group, or it can be a bad sample due to the bad sample. So once the correlation is done, you go to the pattern hunter. Now correlation analysis, so what does the pattern search do? The pattern search, the correlation analysis is performed against either of the given features and all that. The pattern is specific to a series of a feature, specific number. Means if I want to analyze a protein A, then I can analyze that protein A across the group. So if I do a submission of this, uh, I think it will be not available for this. Yeah, see, if I am telling 1, 2, 3, then you can see the top 25 compounds it will be separating. So these proteins are showing a similar trend in their correlation coefficient. Means once they have calculated the Pearson R correlation coefficient, and these proteins are following a same trend across the individual. Like this is one of the good thing, like which is above zero point 0.5 and which is below 0.0. So if you want to see the negatively correlated samples, you can easily download this list here, and you can see that these features are constant across the group. If you want to see the positively correlated one, which in the biological case we want to see, you can move through there. Okay, so now next we move to the PCA. It is the most beautiful thing, like I think, yeah. So this is the most beautiful thing. It divides your features according to the eigenvalues and classifies it. So generally it has by default has a, it can take a 5 PC on the basis of the 5 PC. The PC1 is the most important one. You can go and see in the scree plot, you can see that 28.2% of your features is able to classify your whole data. So let's go to the 2D score plot. So you can see here, so this is my grade 1 is the red, grade 2 is my green, and grade 3 is my blue. So I can see grade 3 is very much different from my grade 1 and grade 2, correct? So grade 3 is very much different from grade 1 and grade 2, and this is very interesting to me. Like this group of individual is behaving totally different. If you go to the 3D score plot, so if you go to the 3D score plot, you can see it here. See, such a beautiful thing. So this red are my grade 1, green are my grade 2. Most of the grade red, like grade 1 is concentrated at one place. Then you can tell that both all of the grade 1 samples in the grade 1 are behaving same. The grade 2 samples, a little bit of heterogeneity is there, and grade 3 also the same. Like you can see, such you can see, you can, like, no, you do not need a coding for this, and easily you can download it. You can just click score, and thus it gets downloaded in the SVG form. You can open the SVG. And another which I wanted to show, if there is not a pure discrimination or a pure segregation of your features, you can do a supervised one, that is PLSDA. See, you can go to a PLSDA. Now I will directly go to the 2D score plot. See, I have trained my model that these three individuals are different. Grade 1 is different, grade 2 is different, grade 3 is different. On the basis of that, they have now segregated themselves. So this is the training model which I can use. So you have to do a cross validation of that, from which you can get a accuracy and uh, means accuracy of that either R2 or Q2. You can download the accuracy table or the cross validation table from the Excel, and so you can also change it. Like if you want to do it with the CV fold, it will update the CV fold also. See, this happens my 10-fold CV fold or the Q2. Rest of them are SLSP, SPLSDA, partially square discriminant analysis, ortho-PSDA, which you can explore by your own. They have the more of the same type of features. Like some have different statistics, but most of them are used for clustering only. I will show one, this SLSPEDA. So I can directly come to the 2D score plot. In the 2D score plot, you can see uh, around 27.9 features have been selected. Like you can see the PC1 and the PC2, the component 1 or the component 2 segregation. So the SAM, you can single analysis method, I think this can be used. These are highly used for uh, microarray analysis, the protein microanalysis, where you will be expected mean decrease in the accuracy. I think expected mean decrease in the accuracy is plotted, and you can download this. Like if this is the origin which had been this green part is of my interest. This green part is of my interest. So this is based on basically the F statistics, and this is very handy while you are doing the micro analysis. Similar the EBAM, I think EBAM will not happen for more than two groups. Now let's come to the dendrogram. So this is the basically based on, anybody can tell, this is basically based on hierarchical clustering. So what you can do, you can download this at a high resolution in a full page. I want to see it like full view. You just click it, you get it. So this is my grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. Now once you have to analyze like what kind of algorithm you are doing. Suppose my one of the grade 1 is being clustered with the grade 2. So like what kind of algorithm you are using? I have used Euclidean, okay, which is generally used for the distance based algorithm for the hierarchical clustering. Now there are various kind of clustering algorithm, whether I want to do an average, I want to do a word, I want to do a single. So let's go one by one and you can see the difference. So now I have done an average. So moreover, it has shifted and a complete clustering algorithm. My complete is relatively improving my data. You can see only one of the grade 1 has been intermingled with the grade 2 and the rest of the grade 1 is segregated. So like uh, I don't know, like this may be interfered that this samples is in the transformation from grade 1 to grade 2. You have to understand like this cohort of samples might get converted into this within a few times. So basically let me tell you, whatever the data has been given to you is a clinical data relevant with the brain tumor samples for the disease progression. It can be, so there are three kinds of grades, grade 1, grade 2 and grade 3. It shows the transformation, like you can quite clearly make it out that this grade 1.2 is quite intermingling with the grade 2, means it is going to transform in some way. Now after the hierarchical clustering, you come to the heat map. In the heat map, you see features like this. So what I can do, I can do a word, I can do a hierarchical clustering for the segregation of my heat map. I will use the word. Here I can do a red and green or any color you want to give a default. This will be normalized data. Now what I can do, I can play little bit of parameters here. First, let us submit and see how my data looks like. So this is how my data looks like. This is my green, sorry, this is my grade 3, the green is my grade 2 and red is my grade 1. So I think this may be 1.2. Yeah, see, this is also showing in the heat map. So this data is intermingling. Let us go for the features. Let us come arbitrary features which are top 100. I want to see my top 100 features which are able to classify in this heat map on the basis of clustering. See, so the red ones are highly distinct in grade 3. Here you can see like the values like here you can tell, you can take it as down regulated or up regulated based on the hierarchical clustering value. So -2 is not present, or it is like absent or very poor progression, and +2 is like very good. These are based on the eigen values. Yeah, these are based on the eigen vectors and also like the z-score transformation. So like you are here, you can see if I am taking the top 100 features, these are my top 100 features which are clearly able to distinguish in the heat map. Okay, so I can do simultaneously by grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 with the help of heat map, and more you can do systemic analysis like the SOM. Like once the heat map is done, you can go for this kind of analysis. See, this is my SOM analysis, self-organizing mass analysis. So I can here also find it is more, it will be coming more identical to the PCA, principal component analysis. My grade 3 is differently as compared to my grade 1 and grade 2. You can perform a k-means clustering here also to look at the data what you want to show. Sample overview. See if I can increase my clusters to 3. Acha, it has taken these clusters only. So this is my k-means clustering, which is identical, like it is taking arbitrary 3 clusters. If I don't do a overlay, then I can see my clusters. Then also it is merged here only. So basically these are my 3 clusters where I don't know, it is not distinguishable, the red, green and blue, and the red, green and blue is overlapped here only, like in a single cluster only. So maybe the sample size is less. Similarly, you can go for a random forest. In the random forest, it can predict like it is considering the grade 1 you had 3 and rest in a total of 6 grade 1, like it is 3 are behaving as grade 1 and 3 are behaving as grade 2. Out of 6 grade 2, 1 is behaving as grade 1 and rest 5 are grade 2 only. Out of grade 3, all 3 are behaving as grade 3 only. So like here you can go and you can analyze the k-means clustering. So this is the top 10 features which you want to explore. See, on the basis of their mean decrease accuracy, you can see. So red is the highest one and the blue is the lowest one. You can see grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. These are the distribution on the basis of the color. So here you can see the red is high. So suppose this is expressed highly in grade 1 as compared to the grade 2 as compared to grade 3. Grade 3 it is lowest. So this feature is A2RP1. You can go and look back to this kind of features, like this is the topmost feature calculated on the basis of the mean decay accuracy rate. You can download this table also. And finally, the SVM single variant mean analysis, but this is only applicable to the 2 data. Lastly, you come to the downloads. So once you come to the download, you can do a download zip. So whatever the features, whatever analysis you have done, at the end you can do a download of that. Also, like you can generate a report, like it will generate a report for you. Like it will take a bit of time, so it will be generating a report. So it is taking time, so let me, yeah. So you can download, I think here it will be report. So you can go and search here and the different kinds of things you can download. Just I will now show the 2 data analysis. Only 2 things to be shown here. So I will do the same things. Columns unpaired, choose. Now I will take the test data 2. When I take the test data 2, I will click on submit, peak intensity, submit. It is having only 2 groups, 2 cohorts. So here I can do proceed. So once proceeded, I can go for filtering less than 30%, and I can do a KNN based clustering. Sorry, I have skipped that part. Okay, let's move. Nothing to worry about. None less than 5,000 features. Proceed. So I will do a normalization by median. Log transformation, data scaling is auto scaling. I will do a normalization of that. So I can view the results. Okay, the more or less the data is being organized. This is the sample view. In the sample view, you can see all of those are my organized. I will go to the statistics part. I can see the fold change, what I want to show you now. So the ones which are in red are very high. So you can change the fold change. So if my two groups are having a fold change of minimum 4, you will show me. So you will see this has been decreased. So log fold change has been increased to log of fold. You can download this picture, okay, or you can download the table also. Then you go to the t-test. In the t-test, you can will do an unequal. Why? If you are having 5 groups and 5 groups, you can go for equal group variance. But if some protein is left or some number of individuals is less, you have to go for unequal variation. Now I have selected my adjusted p-value as 0.05. Suppose your graph is not following a normal distribution. If you know that your QC is not following a normal distribution, you can go for non-parametric test also. Basically, whatever is Gaussian, we consider that as a parametric. You can do a submission. Similarly, if you click on this, you will see your protein here. Simultaneously, you can go to the t-test also, but if you are coming to the volcano plot, you will get the both. So this is the volcano plot. Let us do 0.05. Let us change this number of p-value threshold to 0.05 and FDR adjusted equal unequal submit. See, such a beautiful, like this red are my differentially expressed proteins. So let us enter into it. I will click on this Excel. I will go and see, like, on the basis of the fold change, what is the highest view. See, I am having this grade 1 as the very high. If I go to the my least one, well, see, my green is the highest. On the basis of that, I can download this one. Like, I can download this Excel. For two samples, ANOVAs are not there. You can go for the correlation plot. You can see how the samples looks like. I have this correlation plot. So my least feature is 0.5, which is in green. That will only go. After that, I come directly to the PCA. PCA, the most crucial one. I want to see the 2D score plots. See, my grade 1 and the grade 3 are totally segregated because they were eventually, this I can see in the 3D plots also. So you can download this also, like this is in my 3D plots. Okay, now I move on to the dendrogram. If I come to the dendrogram, you can see that these two groups, the grade 1 and the grade 2, are totally behaving different. You can select the different parameters, but no need of that. We can see the grade 1 on the basis of hierarchical clustering. The grade 1 and the grade 3 are totally different. We move to the heat map. After dendrogram, we move to the heat map. I can recolor it. I can color those and I can do a submit. I can get an overview that this rest the highly expressed in grade 1 and these proteins are highly expressed in grade 3. Let us come to top 25. If I use my top 25, I want to know my top 25 proteins which are highly expressive. You can see the Z-score transformation. Like these are the proteins which are highly expressed in the grade 3, and these are the proteins out of top 20. These are the top 25 which these are highly expressed in. Yeah, so these are the k-means. So this is not the only one software. There are other software also, like Prodigy, Perseus. It's have its own merits and demerits. Like, you have to know what kind of data you are going to analyze and what kind of uh, data you have to make sense of. And that's all from me. I will be happy to take some questions.